In the centre of London lies Nelson's Column within Trafalgar Square, and this is very iconic. And you may have heard of British Admiral Nelson, but you may not know that his actions in one naval engagement saved the United Kingdom over 200 years ago at the Battle of Trafalgar, for which the square is named. So, the Battle of Trafalgar occurred on October the 21st, 1805, and it was an engagement between the British Navy and the combined navies of the French and Spanish, because Napoleon by this point was ruling Europe. He was about to win the Battle of Austerlitz against Austria and Russia and other Allied forces, known as his masterpieces. He had 20,000 fewer soldiers and still outmaneuvered them and won decisively. And he had already secured huge victories against Austria, Italy, Prussia, and had also allied with Spain. And all that really stood in his way as a powerful force was the United Kingdom. And obviously, he couldn't directly invade them because they're an island. And the UK was basically funding all of these other European nations to go and attack Napoleon no matter what. And he couldn't invade them easily because Britain had, well, the strongest navy on the planet and would have such for over 100 years following this point. And so he decided to combine these French and Spanish fleets together, hoping that they would outnumber the contingent of British forces in the English Channel enough in order to launch an invasion. So Nelson, commander of the British fleet, who had already defeated Napoleon's navy at the Battle of the Nile a few years earlier, in which he lost one of his eyes and lost several of his limbs, set out to meet the French and Spanish fleets at the Battle of Trafalgar off the coast of southern Spain. And the consensus for naval engagements in this time was that cannon ships would just go parallel to one another, go up and next to each other, and fire their cannons at one another until one side failed. But Nelson decided to completely flip the script here, as the French and Spanish went in anticipating that. However, he organized his fleet into two distinct arrow-shaped forces, which then came in perpendicular to the French and Spanish fleets, defying all military theory from beforehand. And with this, he was able to annihilate the French and Spanish fleets because they weren't prepared for this and they were cut off. And he led the charge on the HMS Victory, his flagship, from the front, which helped a lot because it increased the morale of his soldiers as they saw that their leader, their admiral, was fighting alongside them. And although he was fatally wounded in battle by a French sniper, the British still managed to win the battle, and he was told about it just before he ended up dying on board HMS Victory. And without this victory, Napoleon could have invaded the United Kingdom within a year of this, and on land, the British would have never stood a chance and would have almost certainly been annihilated.